Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Huey, founder of NBT Systems. Today, we're talking about AI governance and the shadow AI problem. We're going to dive into how we gain visibility and control before AI tools get out of control. So, what is AI governance? AI governance is about visibility, policy, control, and accountability. With visibility, it's knowing what tools are being used and whether they're allowed or not allowed. We want to know. We want to know what your users are doing with the tools, what your users are accessing, so we can gain a tighter control of that. So, policies. From a policy standpoint, want to define the policy, want to define what data can be shared with AI tools, and overall, what tools that you're going to allow, whether it's one LLM or two LLMs or all LLMs, you want to have that policy established. Then you want to get control of enforcing the policies, right? Enforcing the policies in real time and at the point of use, not after the fact or a quarterly audit or a yearly audit. You want to maintain that at the moment and when they're in use. Then finally, accountability. All the tools and all the data that's shared, you want to maintain logs, evidence to demonstrate compliance, or from an internal standpoint, right? You want to know what data is being shared before it's too late. And if it's being shared accidentally, where did it go and how was it shared? Who shared it with? Maybe they need more training. So you want to maintain accountability from that standpoint. And if you're implementing AI at the workplace, you should know about what shadow AI is, right? So 86% of employees use AI on a weekly basis based on a survey from Black Fog Survey, with 49% of them using unauthorized or unapproved AI tools. And what's the definition of shadow AI? Well, it is tools that are being used outside of what is authorized by your company. Even though ChatGPT is authorized, it could be using a personal account with ChatGPT versus an enterprise account, right? So same thing with Gemini, Claude. All these tools are being used for work purposes, even though they may not be allowed. So other things that are tools that are embedded into the browser or tools that are embedded into your SaaS applications, are those authorized? Do you know that they're in use? They may be turned on or they may be being used without you noticing. And what happens with shadow IT, it's about inadvertent sharing of data. But one small little copy and paste into one of these LLMs could lead to you compromising your data, right? It could lead to a violation if it's copying PHI, PII, or CUI. One little paste into LLM could lead to something detrimental to your data. So why does it matter? So when you use unauthorized tools, this exposes your data. You're releasing your data that is used to train public models. So if you look at the fine print of some of these LLMs, once you start using them, there is some fine print in there to say, hey, your data is going to be used to train models. It's not private. You're releasing your data to train these public models. So there is no audit trail of what is being shared or who is sharing it when you use it in this fashion without AI governance or without any kind of enforcement, that data get leaked into the open, right? So again, that becomes a regulatory issue. If you're talking about PII, PHI, or CUI, that could lead to bigger consequences. And also, there are plenty of free tools out there, and some of your users may be interested in using those for whatever reason. They may find it better, they may find it easier, and it's free. But however, they don't carry a BAA, right? You're not establishing a business associate agreement with them, which means there is no security review of these tools. Where once your data is uploaded, there's no retention policy. They may be able to keep your data forever for continuous use to, again, starting to train other models. So just be careful of that. These are the things that why we need to establish a governance model, establish enforcement policies and control. So establishing a governance model does not have to be hard, right? It's 4 steps at a high level. You start with discovery, determine what tools are being used, what kind of LLMs are your users accessing, and then you may need to whittle down to a few tools or one tool, whatever, to make sure that you have a policy that says, hey, only these tools are available, only use these tools so you can maintain control. And that's part of the policy, right? Defining a policy. I'm only going to allow Gemini. I'm going to disallow DeepSeek, for example. And then when you're using AI, don't share any corporate data, right? So that's up to, without any tools, that's up to the discretion of how the user uses it. And we're going to talk about enforcement and monitoring with tools later in this presentation. So after you establish, discover what's out there, you define your policy, then you have to enforce those policies, right? How do you enforce those policies? How do you enforce control? How do you control where your data actually leaves? And that's going to require tools. And then monitoring your activity, right? Everything that you do or your users do should be logged and should be logged continuously to be able to support an audit trail so you know where exactly the data goes and how who's accessing it and what it's being used to be able to whether it support regulatory such as HIPAA or CMMC, doesn't matter. It should be tracked anyway, regardless, so you know what's going on with your data. So how do we enforce it? One of the tools I like is called Island Browser. They have a feature called AI Protect. You can configure Island Browser, which is an enterprise browser and a security platform all in one. So through an enterprise browser like Island Browser, you can enforce policies such as preventing uploads, preventing data from being shared. You can block unauthorized LLMs from being used. Finally, you can enforce only approved AI platforms were at the enterprise level. So we're talking about the differences there, where if you're using a personal account, they can use the data that you type in and data that you use to train other models. At an enterprise agreement level, when you're using the enterprise version of Gemini, for example, your data is private. That is protected from there. So cautions there and things that you can do to enforce these policies. And Island Browser AI Protect is one of them. I'm going to show you a demo of how that works. So let's go to demo. I'll show you how we can block sensitive data from being uploaded and shared. We can block unauthorized LLMs, and we can only allow enterprise authenticated AI sessions. And I'm going to show you how AI is also audited with the use of an enterprise browser like Island Browser. So let's go to the demo. Okay, so right now I'm logged on with a personal Gmail account. I'm going to try to access Gemini. I was logged on with a personal Gmail account, not an enterprise corporate account. I'm denied from accessing Gemini. So now let's go ahead and log in with my business account and access Gemini to see what happens. Okay, so now I'm logged in as my using my corporate account, and I'm going to access Gemini. And this time it allows me to log on and I can go ahead and start using Gemini. So demonstrating how when we talked about earlier about the control enforcement policy, we're not allowing uh, personal use or using personal accounts to access LLMs, only corporate account usage. So that allows you to control how that allows you to control how these are you being accessed and making sure that they're using their corporate accounts and not their personal accounts because their personal accounts the data they can use that data to train other public models. In using corporate accounts, it restricts that from there. So okay, so I've got three documents I've created with fake information, right? One document is a bunch of credit cards with expiration dates and addresses. Another document is a kind of fictitious patient and medical card. As you can see here with Island Browser, I can also mask information. You're not able to see this because it's grayed out, but if I click on that, it'll reveal the information. So another tool where Island Browser will recognize patterns and mask information such as Social Security card numbers or Social Security numbers or credit card numbers to mask that information. And then I have a document of lists of fictitious Social Security numbers and with date of births. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to upload this information into Gemini for whatever reason, right? I may want to do some analysis on these documents, and let's see what happens. So first one I'm going to test is credit card information. So once I do it, it's going to do a scan and it's going to automatically recognize in real time that it has sensitive data and it's going to block it. So let's try again with the medical. And again, it's searching for data and it's going to realize, hey, there's medical data, possibly a PHI information there, and it's going to block. Even though it's fictitious data, it recognizes that information and recognizes patterns and it's going to block that. One last test here. Let's put the SSN numbers in there and see what happens. So again, that gets blocked. So with the SSN numbers, that recognizes patterns, it gets blocked also. So the next thing we're going to show you is what if I were to try to copy and paste that information into the into Gemini and see what happens, right? So I've got a credit card number here. I'm going to attempt to copy this. Like that, copy, and I'm going to try to paste it in here, and it's going to block me from pasting it. So even you can control what gets moved into it. I can restrict it down to the point where, yes, in real time, I say, hey, don't allow credit card numbers from being copied and into there also. Let's try this SSN number. I'm going to highlight that, copy, and attempt to paste it in. It's going to block it also. So what if I try to type something in? Let's say, hey, is this a real credit card number? And see what happens. Automatically, as soon as I type that last digit, it's going to block it from being shared. So very powerful here, controlling everything down there, not allowing sensitive information, recognizing patterns. This is what it can do, and this is that policy enforcement control that you can do with Island browser that you would need if you just had a regular browser with a regular desktop, you would need some sort of third-party tools. But now I can do it from an enterprise browser like Island browser to show you prevent that information. So one thing we talked about is blocking access to unauthorized tools. So I put into the policy to block DeepSeek, and I'm going to try this to access DeepSeek and see what happens. So when someone tries to access DeepSeek, they're going to get this access denied. So this is how you would maintain a list of unauthorized AI tools that you can just block them from accessing and control what tools they can use. So one last thing is monitoring and auditing, creating this audit trail. Uh, you can see here with Island Browser what it tracks, and you can see that all the actions that I've tried to do. I tried to upload those files. It gives me action that's being blocked going to certain sites. It allows me to do that, to navigate the site. I try to paste things into Gemini, it gets blocked. So all the actions there is logged and you can maintain control and track exactly what's going on when you're talking about using AI tools and AI governance, part of that governance policy there to track and monitor everything. My name is Rob Huey with NBT Systems. If you need help with building your AI governance plan, contact me for more information, rob@nbtsystems.ai. Visit our website, nbtsystems.ai. If you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, NBT Cyber. And also, you can scan a code up here to book your consultation with us. Thank you for your time and stay tuned for more videos. We'll be talking more about cybersecurity issues and how to better secure your systems. Thank you.